Hey everybody, welcome to Harmon Garage. I'm Aaron, and today we're gonna get back on old cherry pie. So, as you saw in the earlier videos, I got the engine compartment, frame rails painted, everything clean, painted, front of the core support all cleaned and painted. So, I got to put the new motor mounts in, get the wiring harness up out of the way, and then the old 350 is ready to go back in. So I'm gonna get all that stuff going. We'll get the motor mounts, the frame side motor mounts bolted in there. And then I gotta bolt the motor side motor mounts on. We'll hang this thing from a cherry picker and we'll get it dropped in the truck. So before we do that, if you guys could like and comment on the videos, I'd really appreciate it. It helps the channel grow, and that's what I'm wanting to do. So if you could take a second and do that, I'd really appreciate it. Once we get the motor in, get everything hooked up, then we might do a couple other things on the truck. We'll see what kind of time we got, but I'm gonna get started on getting that in, and we'll go from there. All right, well, I got the motor hung on the cherry picker. Got the flywheel installed, flex plate installed on the motor. Got my motor mounts in on the truck side and on the motor side. And my dad's here giving me a hand putting it in because he's still in town from the holidays and wanted to stop by and help out. So we're going to get ready and drop this thing down in there. All right, motor's in. Got the motor mount bolts in. I've got 4 bell housing bolts in. So she's sitting back in there. Now it comes the fun part, just hooking everything back up. There's a ton of stuff that bolts on these tops of these throttle body motors for all the everything to plug in. And got obviously headers, front accessories, pulleys. All that stuff's got to go on. Still got to put the AC condenser and the radiator back in, hook all the AC lines back up, clean everything, paint everything that's going on the motor, clean up and route the wiring harness where it needs to go, and still quite a bit of work. Also, I want to show you guys something, and I'm not speaking bad on anybody or anything like that, but I want to show you a little something that you shouldn't do and why. So if we come down here and look, this truck originally had a 700 R4 in it, and it was taken out and replaced with a turbo 350. Which is no big deal. Somebody wanted a turbo 350 in it, that's fine. But the way that they made the mount fit is they took this aluminum plate right here, drilled a hole in it, ran a bolt through into the cross member, and then put the bolt from the trans mount up into the plate and bolted it down. Because the turbo 350 is a little bit shorter. Now, just for people that don't know, a little bit of helpful information. Here's the bolts where the tranny cross member bolts in. And I don't know if you guys can see, you probably can't, but there's two other sets of bolt holes here on both sides where that tranny cross member can move forward 3.5 up to 3.5, 4 inches. So it the frames are drilled to fit a turbo 350, a turbo 400, a long shaft, a short shaft, and a 700 R4. So if you switch out transmissions and the mount doesn't line up, you just take the 8 bolts that hold the tranny cross member on, slide it forward to where you need it, put bolts back in, and it's all done. On the older trucks, if you try to like 73 to 84, 82, somewhere in there, they usually only have the provisions for the SM465, the 350, and the 400. Because they didn't start putting the 700 R4s in until 83, 84, somewhere in there. So, just a little piece of information. If you're swapping trannies out for a different tranny in one of these square bodies, the holes are already there in the frame. You just got to unbolt the cross member and move it to where it needs to be for the transmission that you're putting in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But if you're paying attention when you clicked on this video, the title of the video is called One Motor In, One Motor Out. And that's because I got to pull this back out again. No, I'm just teasing. I got a buddy that has a square body that you guys have seen on the channel before, or may have seen on the channel before, and it's his work truck. He uses it every day, tows a 30-foot dump trailer with it, everything. Well, the last time I worked on it, I told him the motor was tired, and he said he was going to run it until it gave up. Well, it gave up. So once he noticed it was giving up, he started looking around for a new motor. So now his 80, I want to say it's an 85 C30 or a K30 flatbed is getting a dyno proven 550 horsepower 383 with Holley Sniper EFI, and gonna have the ignition MSD ignition box and all that stuff, and he needs it back as quick as possible because, like I said, it's a work truck. He tows a dump trailer with it almost every day. So I don't want to take cherry pie outside because everything's clean and fresh and everything else, but I need to get that truck inside to do a quick motor swap on it. So what I think I'm gonna try to do is take cherry pie and get it over this way as far as I can, and hopefully in the process I'll have enough room over here to bring another truck in. I've never had 4 trucks in here, never even attempted to get 4 trucks in here, but I need to now because I don't want to put cherry pie outside. There's a bad storm coming in. They already called off school for the rest of the day for my kids and everything else, so I don't want to take chances putting it outside. There's nothing in the front keeping stuff from blowing in on the motor. Just, I don't want to put it outside. I want to keep it inside till it's done. So yeah, let's see if we can fit 4 trucks in the shop. All right, well, I didn't know if it was going to work out or not, but it did. I got 4 trucks in the old shop. So we got cherry pie moved over and tucked back. And if you guys remember this truck, it never really got a name. It was kind of a, he bought it, I went through it and checked it out, and he took it and started using it. So we may give her a name while she's here, but she may not be here long enough to get a name. So it's 80, I think it's an 85. Got anything here on the sticker? Yeah, 85 model, K30. Oh, it's a GMC, I'm sorry. It's got a Chevy grill on it and a Sierra 3500 badge. So I'm not sure which one it is. Either way, wore out 350 carburetor, SM465 manual transmission, and it's a pretty truck. The interior is in very nice shape. It's got a really nice flatbed on it. Interior is good, clean. So, like I said, he's needing this truck. We already got the motor. He ordered a new clutch and flywheel and all that stuff just so that everything went back together new and we wouldn't have to worry about anything for a while. I went through this truck and packed bearings and checked brakes and all that stuff. I'll put a link to the video somewhere. You'll see it. It'll flash and show you. But so I'm gonna try to get this motor yanked out of here today, and then get this video up for you guys, and then I'll make another video on slapping the motor back in this thing and switching it over to the Holly Sniper and all that stuff. Sorry, I've got 52 million things going on in my mind and I'm trying to talk without thinking first. So we're gonna try to yank this motor out and then we'll go from there. Okay, when he called me up and told me this thing started smoking white, he wasn't joking. I just went and picked it up and drove it back over here. And when I first started driving it, it was fine. It wasn't smoking at all. But then after I got a little heat in it going down the road, this thing started smoking white so bad out the back you couldn't even see behind you. So not sure. It doesn't seem like it's low on coolant. And he was out using it when it started smoking and drove it back to his shop. So I don't want to say head gasket, because if it was a head gasket, I think it would have drained all the coolant out. But I'm just kind of starting to pull little stuff here and there. The motor's still got a bunch of heat in it. I don't want to burn the crap out of myself, but I'm just trying to get some of the stuff off here. Okay, so you can say I kind of sort of gotten started on getting this motor out. Got the radiator draining. I pulled the carburetor off. And that's pretty much all I've done so far. So, look at the clock there. It's 1:44 on November 29th. I'm gonna put the camera on time lapse. I'm gonna yank this motor out of here and let's see how fast we can get it out. got this motor ready to pull out. Got a jack underneath the transmission. Got the cherry picker hooked to it. And as far as I know, everything that I need to unhook is unhooked. So I'm gonna it's a manual SM465 and it's got the big transfer case hanging off the back. So I'm gonna go up evenly with the jack and the cherry picker. And then once we get up high enough we can clear the motor mounts, I'll put a jack stand under the transmission and wedge it up against the bottom of the floor. And we should be able to slide the motor forward and pop it right out, clutch and all, without having to take anything apart in there. So I'm doing really good on time. I'm not going to show you the time just yet, but I'm doing really good on time. I took 2 short breaks for water and bathroom, and my dad wanted to be here when I pulled it out. I'm ready to pull it out, but he wanted to be here when I pulled it. So he's on his way back over, waiting on him for a few minutes, and then I'll fire the other camera up and we'll lift this thing out of here. Motor's out on the stand, 3/28, November 29th. So it was 1:44 when I started. So that's like an hour and 40 minutes, I guess. But I took a couple breaks and
I had to wait for Dad.
Wait for Dad and whatever. Either way, an hour and 40 minutes start to finish pulling a motor. Not saying I'm breaking any records or anything, but it's not too bad. So, as I mentioned, I got the transmission wedged against the floor on a jack stand. That makes it high enough that the clutch can slide on and off the input shaft.
No, there's no moisture in it.
Without it hitting the motor mounts. So, that'll be there. I can't set the new engine back in just yet because I'm waiting on the owner of the truck. He ordered some new motor mounts to put on the frame and they came in today, but he can't go pick them up until he gets off work, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. So I'm gonna start getting the other motor ready, get the pilot bushing installed in it, get the new clutch and new flywheel, new clutch, new pressure plate, all that stuff put on it. And then all I'll be waiting on is the motor mounts. Once I get the motor mounts, I can set the motor in the truck and then we'll work from there. But you won't see that until the next video here on Harmon Garage. I appreciate everybody watching. Had a lot of fun today. Did a lot of work, felt good. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. Y'all have a good one. See you next time.